Good morning, folks. My name is David Brear, and welcome to episode 22 of the 11FS Fintech Insider Breakfast Show, brought to you this morning by our good friends over at MyTech, who are providing tomorrow's identity verification for today's uncertainty, and uncertain times it is. In this show, we'll be bringing you the wow, live shows. It's always good to see what happens when David doesn't get up early enough to get moving this morning. All right, we're going to be bringing you the best and the brightest from the fintech and banking landscape every single weekday, straight into your homes at 8:30 BST. As we're going to be cooped up together over the next couple of months, we thought we might try and start our days off just a little bit brighter, and hopefully with some of the amazing guests that we've had, from Gavin Ramjaran, who is a BBC News presenter, to Starling CEO Anne Bowden, and our very own non-executive director, Chris Skinner. We're doing just that. Today, though, I'm thrilled by joining me this morning. We have 1,000 people in the chat, which is great. So welcome every morning to everybody who's there. But actually, on the other side of the line, we've got Edoardo Volta, who is the head of fintech over at Mastercard. We're going to be talking this morning about how Mastercard is helping at a community level, and everything that's happening with COVID, what's happening from a financial impact perspective, what we're seeing on the payment side of things. So, Edo, how's it going?
Hi, David. Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I was bizarrely complimenting you for the quality of your Wi-Fi a second ago, wasn't I? But it's great to see somebody with a really stable connection. Where in the world are you today?
I'm in London, in Fulham, in my house, and yeah, it's great to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problems at all. As always, folks who are watching this over on LinkedIn, if you have any questions for us, then stick them in the comments, and we'll bring those through just to make sure that actually we know exactly what you guys are kind of thinking of the chat that we've got this morning. Edo, for anybody who doesn't know, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do over at Mastercard?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, David. So yeah, hi everybody, and thank you for listening in. So I'm Edoardo Volta, and I'm the head of fintech at Mastercard. So what it means is that my team manages all of the relationship with all of the digital bank, all of the prepaid issuer in the UK market, and issuing either in the UK or across Europe. So we work with a variety of fintech, which is, as you can imagine, a very exciting job, very busy and challenging at times, but it keeps us really, really excited and interested.
That's great. I mean, like you say, busy times as well. I mean, pre-COVID, then the fintech world, the financial services industry is transforming at a rapid rate, isn't it? But how have you seen everything that's happening with COVID sort of affect work operations? I mean, you guys at Mastercard, I've kind of had quite a lot of work with you guys in the past. You're a pretty digital organization, so how has remote working sort of impacted you guys?
Yeah, remote working is a challenge for everybody. I think everybody needs to adapt, and everybody needs to adjust. We are very lucky at Mastercard to be an organization which is used to remote working. So we are set up for it. We do it under normal circumstances. I think the challenge for us has been the scale of remote working. All of a sudden, when you think about it, over 15,000 employees all working from home at the same time posed a challenge on our systems, but we have an organization that reacted very quickly. So I think we are in a position where we can all work from home relatively easily. But as I said, it took some adjustment, and it's an adjustment both for us personally, as individual, how you work with the team, how you engage with your customer, ensuring that you maintain the communication going and the team spirit going and the relationship that we build with the customer going. Probably has been the biggest challenge, I would say, but we are dealing with it and we're coping.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Having those conversations when people have got real sort of priorities of things to fix within their organization is difficult, isn't it? But like I say, I think the brands who are there for people during this period are really, I think, sowing good seeds for later on, which makes a lot of sense. Lots of people joining us from around the world right now. So morning, Sanjay, how's it going? Dan, great to see you. Darmash, is always good to see you. We have your very own Darren Powell, actually, Edo, watching this morning as well. Paul Kane over at RBS, how's it going? Guys over at Tally this morning, and actually we've got somebody all the way from Pune in India this morning. Raul, how's it going, Raul? So lots of people joining in. I'm sure there'll be lots of good questions sort of flowing when we sort of get into this. But I mean, how has the pandemic affected Mastercard as a company? I mean, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? 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 What are you se I mean, from from an employee perspective, because like you say, I think those organizations who are used to remote working will just sort of continue. I think the only challenge you've got with remote working permanently is everybody staying sane, isn't it, to a certain degree? But how about on a customer level? How are you seeing transactions, or is customer interaction changing dramatically, like you say?
I actually, it is changing the way we interact. I would say the level of interaction is probably the same, if not stronger. I mean, if I look at the fintech space specifically, where I work, where my team work, I think we are lucky, or actually we put a lot of work into it before this happened. So when you look at the heritage and the history that Mastercard has got in this space, it goes down to even before the word fintech even existed. So we used to work with those players 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, when they were in its infancy, when they were even before when they were just an idea. And we started working with them and developing with them and growing. And I think that level of relationship that we built with them in the last few years is really helping us through here, because when we have discussion with them, they come to us as a partner and thinking about what can Mastercard do to help us, and not just through a better deal, but also help us through better solution that can help. It can help the security of the cardholder, better way of engaging, so that some of the projects that we're working on do not get stopped because we can meet. So I would say, if anything, the level of activities for my team has gone up, and in a good way. So I would say probably 80% of what we do is still positive, driving business, growing the relationship. And obviously there is a part of it which is crisis management. So for some of our customers who are struggling most, how do we put in place measures to help them throughout this time as much as we can, obviously. So so the work has been really good. I'm lucky to have a team which has been fantastic and has been working really hard at staying close with the customer with my help. So I would say the work has been really great. Obviously, we see an impact when in the numbers. We, as you know, all companies are being impacted from a numbers perspective. But I think for us, this is also an opportunity to show our customer that we can support them through a tough time. This is normally when relationship gets even stronger, if both partners are in it together. So I think that I would say there is also an opportunity, as well as obviously the challenges we're facing that we need to cope with.
Yeah, and I think for anybody watching this I mean, we've sort of, not quite at this severity, but we've sort of seen this story before, haven't we? The 2008 financial crisis that happened. The resulting rise from a fintech perspective was very much supported by everything that Mastercard did. I think pretty much. I think it was it 99 out of the 100 first fintechs in the UK had Mastercard logos. So the work that you guys did to sort of support people during that period. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see, with the changes that we're seeing today, whether actually it will give rise to a whole new group of people who are really trying to fix, tough customer problems. But I mean, I think that's an interesting stance that, like I say, I've sort of talked a lot this week about culture. I think organizations that have put the work in to create good culture, exactly like you say, with good relationships with clients, will be okay during this period. It's going to be difficult, but you're going to be okay. I think if you're suddenly trying to create great relationships, or you're suddenly trying to establish good relationships with customers, it's going to be very, very different in the same way as it would do with culture. So I mean, there's a few things that you guys, and actually I guess the industry has done to try and reduce contact. One of them, increasing the limit around contactless. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, obviously, just starting a bit more broadly, and I'll talk in a minute about contactless. Everything. So one of the things that I'm really proud of the way we're coping with this is the fact that in order for us to be able to do all the initiatives we're driving, Mastercard has been really strong at putting our employees and then our customer first. So what makes sense for our employee and our customer is what we are driving, and that allows us to have employees who are engaged and driving some of those initiatives. So contactless is definitely one of them. we obviously, for those who don't know, as of 1st of April, the limit of contactless has been increased in the UK to £45, and Mastercard has been a key driver of this initiative. But it's not just Mastercard, it's an industry initiative, and we really came together as an industry across the whole ecosystem, from issuer, acquirer, and all the partners, to really drive that change. This is not a UK only change, it goes across, I think, over 30 markets in Europe, and the limit obviously varies by currencies, €50 in the Euro market and so on. But it's really a way to drive more, so the safety of our employee and our customers is at the core of what we do, and that increase in the limit for contactless is what the reason behind is driving more safety, and also allowing people to have different ways to pay, to avoid having to type in the PIN and to use cash, which is something we know our customer values. So it's been one of the main initiatives that we've been driving in this period, which is proving very successful.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, for all of the benefits of contactless, one of them that I never thought was hygiene. But we're in a situation where actually the priority of that need is so much higher than anything else right now, and people still need to go to Tesco and Sainsbury's and what places and buy food. So actually, that not handing over physical cash actually will probably save lives. It's quite an amazing thing. So is that change, do you think, going to be a permanent change? Are we going to sort of leave the limits higher, or is it because I guess the risk has always been, people have been concerned about the risk of fraud, I guess, haven't they? So I guess there's an element here of seeing the limit increase, whether there's an additional splurge on kind of fraud cases. What do you think? Will it be kept there?
Yeah, so I think my thinking is that it will last. It's a change that will last and will stay. Obviously, there are concerns around risks and around security and safety, but this goes hand in hand with the development that we are doing in the industry around fraud prevention and managing the chargeback process. It is not a unique initiative. It goes with an improvement in all of those solutions. So what is interesting is that obviously the contactless take up, when you look at the history of contactless, has been slower to a certain extent, and then depending on the region or on the country or even on the city, there has been specific compelling events that drove the use of contactless more and more. So, for example, a typical example in London is the TfL rolling out contactless, and all of a sudden everybody became more comfortable with it. And this didn't come with an increase in fraud. It just actually became part of the norm of the day-to-day. And with the increase in our fraud tool and our fraud solution, we are preventing the negative of contactless and just exploiting the positive side of it.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's the context of payments has fundamentally changed from a physical sense. I mean, I guess on remote payments, which I mean, most people think of payments, like you say, purely on you tap your Mastercard, you've made a payment, but most payments happen when nobody is there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess in that context, I mean, like Amazon right now is doing pretty well, right, in terms of transactional sort of volume. But I read one of the things that you guys have done with Uber Eats. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what you've done with those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is probably it's slightly different from contactless in the sense that this is part of, we have a mantra, we have an ethos at Mastercard, which is doing well by doing good. So we believe at Mastercard, and this is a vision that has been driven down by Ajay, our CEO, all the way down throughout the organization, which is the only way where you really drive positive change in a meaningful and lasting way is if it becomes part of your DNA, part of the way you do business. And the Uber Eats example is an exact example of that. So what we've been doing is we have we are donating £10 meal voucher, 40,000 of them to the NHS worker. So if an NHS worker order a meal through Uber Eats, they will get a £10 voucher. And this is a typical example where there is value. There is value to actually to the cardholder, to to the customer, but it becomes an intrinsic way of doing business with our partners, a partner like Uber Eats. And this is something we do on a regular basis. This is just an example, but there are many other examples. We work with partners all the time on their donation platforms. So a lot of fintech I work with have got charity platform, and Mastercard works with them on several different initiatives, from Save the Children to the World Food Program. This is just what's happening in the world is just accelerating the need for some of those solutions, but it's always been there, and it's something we've been doing consistently.
Do you know, that's an interesting point. I mean, we've on this show, we've had CEOs of banks from fintechs. A lot of people are saying that it feels like the world has just sped up. Exactly as you say, the need for these things has always really sort of been there, but actually there's this sort of key ingredient of necessity now for all of these changes. So, I mean, what else do you see in this space from I guess in fintech or banking? That do you see there's anything else that will be accelerated because of this period?
Well, it's hard to say. I think what we are seeing as an organization is, especially for my team working with the fintech, is a need for different solutions. So a need for understanding that payments can really be a vehicle to support vulnerable, to support situations which are challenging, because ultimately payments is at the core needs of the society. So we are obviously working with the NHS and other government body to see how can we through our partner deliver a solution that allows access to funds to the vulnerables. Again, this is not new. We've been doing that forever, but in moments of crisis, those needs become more and more accentuated. And because of this, we as Mastercard need to act faster. So we have seen changes in our approval process, for example. So when we have to approve new programs, we are trying to be faster. Obviously, there needs to be a layer of oversight and a layer of governance on those programs. But it's important that we are faster in making decisions, and we support those partners faster. And the decision could be yes or no. Sometimes, unfortunately, it has to be we can't support a specific program because of the risk, but we need to make the decision faster. So this is really where one example where we are seeing needs. What I would say is the other piece for all of my customers is that if anything, I see some of my customers growing stronger in this period because they've built enough trust in their customer base to know that they will look after them. So they if you think a lot of the fintech, their ethos is about helping customers managing money better, and some of them are going out of their way now to help customers understanding some of the risk of gambling, for example, in these times, or understanding how to better make payments and to budget for payments. Those needs are becoming again stronger in this period, and companies who can do that more easily and clearly, they will see an acceleration in their relationship with the customer.
100%. Yeah, it's all about creating trust, isn't it, with people? And through this period, that can definitely happen. Some really good questions over on LinkedIn. So one there from Raul. Would we be looking to see more cards solely using mobiles rather than physical plastic? I mean, Mastercard famed for plastic, but I'd say most, it's got to be a very large percentage of your payments right now are non-card transactions. So, I mean, do you expect us to see more and more pure play mobile capability coming through?
So that's a very good question. Thank you for the question, because actually it is an example of what we were just talking about. I mean, virtual cards or virtual payments, again, have been there for years now. However, we are seeing an increase in requests from some of our customers to allow for plasticless payments. So actually, this is something that is again accelerating, but that's something Mastercard has started doing already before the pandemic. So we've launched a program called Digital First last year in 2019, where we basically allow our rules have changed to allow issuer to issue a card without the plastic, with the plastic being optional. This is just an example of how we can support our partner in the 21st century, so in the new digital world. And while this at the beginning, when it was launched, was a program to see, and we were waiting to see feedback from customers, see how it was going. If anything, now with this new world and this new way of working, this needs again is becoming stronger, and we are seeing more and more customers asking for that. So that's the answer is definitely yes. We are seeing an increase in that, and we as Mastercard have already been prepared to support it.
Another question over on LinkedIn was about from Amara. Sorry if I got your name wrong there. With the advent of COVID-19, have we seen a surge of digital scams? Because I mean, I personally, I think everybody who was doing the PPI one seems to have moved on to telling me to donate to the NHS when it's definitely not donating to the NHS. So, I mean, are you guys starting to see a lot more uptick of fraud from scams surrounding COVID-19 right now?
So, I mean, unfortunately, this is happening across the board. It's not just payments. It's always when there is a crisis. In those crises, this is one of the consequences, the negative consequences of the crisis around just the crisis itself. Again, as Mastercard, the key for us is to ensure that we protect the customer as much as we can in those environments. So we have solutions in place that are actually protecting from fraud and from risk. And if anything, we are increasing the solution and we are strengthening those solutions. We have data scientists that are working constantly it's all around statistics and rules. So they're working around looking at the new world, looking at what's happening, and changing our rules and changing our reaction so that we prevent some of that as much as possible. Can we prevent all of them? No, but then we have fallback process around chargebacks and looking at how we protect after the fact. So it's really a work done to prevent and then to fix if we cannot prevent. So yes, the answer is we see an increase, but we are fighting against it.
Like you say, it's tough. I mean, anytime there's an opportunity, bad people try and take advantage of it, don't they? Which is pretty sad. But there's another question on LinkedIn from David Kolb. So with this crisis accelerating the pace of digital transformation, I think everybody at this stage has seen what kicked off your digital transformation. Was it your CEO, CDO, or COVID-19? I think everybody's saying COVID-19. Will this increase lead to greater partnerships between fintechs? And actually, I guess beyond that, given the financial difficulty that many organizations are sort of facing, do you think that this may lead to a round of fintech acquisitions coming up? Maybe if I take that one just while we get Edo back, then I think from my perspective, I think David, it's a great question. I think we're going to see with the acceleration around everything we're seeing with the digital transformation side of things because of what's happening with COVID-19. I think what we're seeing is more and more fintechs really sort of putting some rivalry aside and working with each other to solve real consumer problems, which is awesome. This is what we should be doing, but obviously a lot of the times your business gets in the way of the business that actually is the thing that the customer is really trying to do. I mean, in terms of the acquisition side of things, I think that's going to be really, really interesting. I worry a little bit with everything that's actually happening that with some of the fintechs potentially getting themselves into trouble, that they might find that actually they're not as sustainable as they thought they would, especially ones that are maybe coming to the end of a funding round and in a situation where they're looking for more money to continue in the direction that they're doing. So it's a tough time, I think, for everybody that's in business. But hopefully a lot of the players who are either really well funded or really well backed from their customer bases can keep going in these times. Edo, I think we've got you back now. Do you want to comment on that one? All right, we'll have a look through some of the other points through here then. All right, so with has been so surge of cybercrime, definitely we've seen a surge in cybercrime. The work of Amy, Ian, and the team at StartPath will be incredibly important, just as it was for Revolut, Railsbank, and eToro. Good point, David Cunningham. Lots of stuff that we need to do there. Yash Sharma. So, what is the post-COVID market forecast according to you guys for fintech? I mean, for me, I'd say it is going to be a very difficult period of time. You know, we're facing into here a period where the whole of the economy. I think the prediction yesterday with the economy was that it will drop by 3 times the amount that we saw with everything that happened in 2008, and that is a pretty significant period to sort of deal with. So I honestly think it isn't just a fintech problem. I think this is a businesses of all types problem, which for me becomes to work. So for me, I'd say the challenge is going to be felt across the whole piece, not just the fintech side of things, but for fintech, where actually arguably a lot of the time they can be the solution to the problems that are being created rather than exacerbating them. Then it feels to me like the fintech space can really sort of do some great things. Good question here. Do we think that we're going to see an increase in opportunities for fintech or a decrease in opportunities in fintech during this period?
Sorry, David, I can't hear you.
Fortunately, I think we've lost your audio, Edo. So I think as we're sort of reaching the top of the hour, it's probably sensible for us to finish there, unfortunately. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. Edo, one last chance. Is your audio back up and running? Unfortunately not. All right, guys. Well, sorry for being able to losing Edo at the end there. Do you know what? After I praised his Wi-Fi so hard, then unfortunately at the end of it we lost him. Edo, are you back now? Awesome, got you. All right. Well, let's run.
I don't know what happened.
No worries. Do you know what? When I praised your Wi-Fi at the top of this, I knew I was jinxing it, and I really
jinxed it. We jinxed it.
All right, so there's a couple of really good questions here that let's have a run at. So, from Yash Sharma, what is the post-COVID market forecast according to you guys? Do you see more opportunities for fintech, or do you think the fintech space might become a little bit more complicated, a little bit more difficult in this period?
It's an interesting question, I think, David. I think there is space for fintech for sure. There is going to be space for fintech. And some of those fintech, as I said before, they're going to come out a bit stronger for the relation with the customer. There are going to be, I think, some companies are going to suffer from it, and there might be some left behind. But it's also a question of how this company managed to react to the needs of the customer and how they can continue addressing those needs throughout the pandemic and afterwards. Obviously, we're going to see a different world when we come out of it. The economy will be impacted, and there will be a recovery time, which depends how long it's going to be, depends on how long the pandemic lasts. But this is where we as Mastercard believe if we continue working in partnership with this company, we can support each other and make sure we continue growing out of it. Yeah. So it's a difficult question to answer, but I believe there is a space for fintech for sure at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, my view on that really is there is always opportunity. And I think one thing that fintech has always been great at doing, both as organizations, as just group of people, is finding that opportunity to solve customers' needs, which right now the needs are changing. So hopefully we can, everybody can do a lot more. Question here from Jane G was, I mean, fintech is such a broad church, isn't it? How do you guys work with regtech players? Because I mean, obviously, I mean, Mastercard. Back when I was in a bank, I remember working with Mastercard and the acquisitions that Mastercard were making, even back in 2010, were moving towards reduction of fraud, reg tech all the way through the ecosystem. Does your role kind of cover all different types of fintech?
Actually, so my role is on the paytech side. So we work with the payments fintech, so the fintech issue cards or have a payment solution. However, Mastercard as an organization, as you said, David, works with a variety of fintech or innovator in the space. So one example is our Start Path program. It's a program that is global, and it really is an incubator for scale up. I wouldn't say early stage startup, but more scale up who wants to become a more significant player in the ecosystem, and Mastercard really helps them with connection, with helping develop their proposition, and finally potentially with an investment or just helping them grow. So this is just an example of the work we do with fintech. We partner with them to develop new solutions. Some of them we acquire. In the news with probably the acquisition of Ethoca last year was one of the fintech in the fraud space, which is in the chargeback, which is very relevant at the moment. It's been probably one of the most successful acquisitions recently. It helps us enhance our set of solutions that we give to customers. So we work with a variety of companies in the payment system.
Well, and David Cunningham sort of points out in the comments, some pretty big companies have come through that Start Path process, right? So people like Revolut, Railsbank, and eToro, the support that you guys gives them to exactly as it's named, a very good start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them become very well-known name. Some of them might be less known name, but still very relevant in the payment ecosystem. So maybe more niche player, but they play a specific role and a very key role. So we are very proud of our program, and it's a program that has been running for many years. Globally, every year we see a flurry of application, and we have to be very selective. It's a tough program to get in, but once the company get in, the investment of time and support they get from their user of Mastercard and from our partners is significant.
Very good. All right. Unfortunately, I've got to get going. I've got to go jump on our daily stand-up. So I really better get moving up. So I'm going to get in trouble at 11FS. So Edo, thank you so much for that. I know. Well, I mean, like this stuff is for fun. Like the business stuff, I better take care of as well. But Edo, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do at Mastercard?
Well, they can find you on LinkedIn, Edoardo Volta, LinkedIn, and reach out to me if you have any question. I'm more than happy to answer.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, guys, that's all we have for you today. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. I'm going to be joined by Ryan Joyce, who is the head of fintech over at for UK and Ireland for Salesforce. Going to be super interesting conversation. So come back this time tomorrow. If there is anybody else you would like us to chat to, I think we've probably got you covered for the next month in terms of these shows with people lined up. But if there's anybody else you would like us to chat to on one of these breakfast shows, hit us up, tag them in the comments, get them involved. But until tomorrow, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe and see you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David.